We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. It's a lunchtime hour live show. Welcome into the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. I warned you, we can pop up at any time. Live show, episode, watch party. So make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can get some notification. Also follow us at Flug Empire on Twitter. It's the handle there is on the ticker on the bottom of the screen. We also give you a little bit of an update when we're coming on live. Today, we're going to be talking about ESPN staff gives their predictions on future realignment. And we're going to be going over, once again, I want to get your comments, your phone calls on the way too early 2023 Heisman Watch. Yes, Heisman Watch. What are you doing, Greg, talking about the Heisman Watch in March? Are you crazy? Yes, I'm crazy. We talk about everything here in college football. So, and I wanted to get off this Pac-12 drama that's been going on. Let's talk some football. But again, ESPN comes out with an article this morning. The staff gives their predictions. And guess what? They don't agree with each other. They don't all agree with each other. Oh my goodness, what does that mean? It means that they're human and they don't all agree with each other. They all talk to different people. That's reality. That is life. Not everything is a coordinated plot against you. So welcome in. Let's first of all, I want to thank our sponsor. But hold on a second here. Hold just a moment. Hold on just a moment. As you know, our Cloak and Dagger college football's Peek Around the Corner. Official game rules. Drink whenever Greg says Cloak and Dagger. It's only counts when Greg says it. Have fun. Drink responsibly. You guys know the rules. Now you can get the official PATC mug to drink that coffee or the tea or your favorite pop or what you guys say outside of Minnesota. Your favorite cola, your tequila, your vodka. You can get your your official PATC mug in the link in the description box. We have opened up the merchandise store. We've got trucker hat. We've got hoodies. We've got one mug. More mugs are coming. So take a look at the store. And you can get your official mug right there and then. I would appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, go to the merchandise store. There may be something there you will like, especially that official Cloak and Dagger mug. One mug in stock. Random teas. Okay, now for our official sponsor. We are so fortunate to have welcome to Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. We invite you to discover the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. Clean, hot air roasted coffee produces a smoother, a richer, a healthier coffee that is less bitter and less acidic. Our hot air roasted coffee uses convection heat to loft the beans for a very even heat transfer. The clean, bright taste that people rave about is achieved by roasting the bean quickly and evenly while suspended on a bed of hot air. From craft to cup, hand-picked coffee beans. Give it a try. That is also in the link in the description box. Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters, we are so fortunate to have them as a partner here at Peek Around the Corner, as our sponsor. The best coffee, the Little General, the moderator of the show, the best coffee she has ever had. And myself, of course, the best coffee I've ever had. So thank you, Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. If you hit that link and you want to order some, if you want to support this channel, put PATC in the comments section. in the website at Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. Okay, let's go. First of all, I want to thank people that are in the room before we get to our monologue. Louis, Carlos Diaz, thank you for coming in. K2, March Madness, Rock Chalk, Kansas #1 seed. This is a college football channel. I'm not going to go through my selections because they're not going to be any good. Greg the Cooler is alive. I don't want to send you guys off I don't want to give you my bad bracket, okay? I do have Kansas in the Final Four, but I've got some crazy stuff going on besides that. James Foster, thanks for the live show. No, thank you for coming on in. Thank you for coming on in. ESPN staff article. They were all just guessing. They have zero intel. Yeah, they're just giving their predictions, right? They talk to people. Of course they do. And guess what? They all have a little bit of a difference of opinion. And that's okay. That's okay. That is okay. It doesn't mean one of them is lying and only one of them is telling the truth. Okay. It's all a guess, so minus the pack stays intact. Big Ten not ready to expand anyway. Oregon, Washington don't have options. That's divide Terps. Jonathan Weaver, who do you think will win the last Big Ten West title? And who do you think they will beat if they're not going to beat the East champ? Not in the last year. Who's going to win the West? I haven't given my way too early Big Ten predictions. But I'm going to lead you with this. It's not going to be my Gophers. It's not going to be my Gophers. That's depressing. It just isn't. Gopher fans are mad at me. I think we're taking a step back this year. I think it's going to be a fun, interesting season for the Maroon and Gold. We're not going to be... My prediction is we're not going to be the West champ. Well, I'll just give it right now. But I will go in detail later on. I think Wisconsin's, as much as it hurts, I think they're a step ahead of everybody. I think there's so many changes going on in Wisconsin. Can they put it all together? But the next 5 teams, everybody but Northwestern, come on. Iowa's going to have a great defense, and they have Cade McNamara. But can I really pick them to win it this year? Nebraska, Matt Rule, he's new. They're changing everything up. Gophers are an 8-point favorite over Nebraska. First game of the season. And I have Minnesota going 6-6. So I can't possibly have Nebraska. Illinois, very good year last year. They lose their quarterback. They lose their top running back. They lose their great defensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach of Purdue. Purdue loses. The Big Ten. The Big Ten West is a mess for 2023. So, Jonathan Weaver, to answer that question, I have absolutely no idea. No idea. I would take Wisconsin right now as much as that stabs me in the heart. Stabs me in the heart. Cameron B, thanks for coming on in. Monavision, thanks for coming on in. Mr. Monkey says, you're the best, Greg. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Sean, appreciate coming in. Let's get to the monologue here. Let's get to our monologue. Let's see what ESPN says. Predictions. ESPN staff article came out this morning. We're getting closer and closer to seeing major changes in college football. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole article. I don't do the last part of it. But again, there's a link in the description box if you want to read the whole thing. We're getting closer and closer to seeing major changes in college football. Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU are all set to enter the Big 12 on July 1st. And in the summer of 2024, we'll see Oklahoma and Texas join the SEC, and UCLA, USC will head to the Big Ten. With those moves set in stone, and surely more to come soon, our reporters discuss what the future realignment might look like in college football and give their wildest wishes for the sport. What's the next domino to fall? Bill Connelly The next logical move will come when the Pac-12 figures out the valuations for its next set of media contracts. If it's competitive enough to what the Big 12 has arranged to pull in, then one assumes the Pac-12 will add 2 programs with San Diego State and SMU, and I hope they do so. I think they need to if they can get a deal. UNLV, Boise State, and others are still hoping for a shot, according to Bill Connelly. And everything will potentially stabilize for a bit. If the Pac-12's estimates end up far short of expectation, then I guess we'll find out exactly how serious the Big 12 is about potentially adding Colorado, Utah, Arizona State quartet of programs. Looming over all of this, of course, is whether the Big Ten decides to expand past 16 programs and add whatever combination of Oregon, Washington, Cal, and Stanford is most attractive. But since the Big Ten doesn't even have a commissioner or a full set of college presidents at the moment, we'll hold off wondering about that. Now, this is Bill Connelly. Okay? Adam Rittenberg. I agree with Bill in a sense. As the most immediate move could come from the Pac-12 once its media contract with the existing 10 members is finally set. But the next major move likely lies with the Big Ten. Although Commissioner Kevin Warren ultimately couldn't get the league's presidents on board with the additional West Coast expansion beyond USC and UCLA, I'm told there was some support in the room. Got that? That's Adam Rittenberg. Kevin Warren ultimately couldn't get the league's presidents on board with the additional West Coast expansion. I don't think he could get Fox Sports on board either. But I'm told there was support in the room. That's what we said at Peek Around the Corner over and over and over again. There was other support in there. Rittenberg is saying what we said. We got raked over the coals by many. There was support. Warren couldn't get consensus, didn't even work on it, went way over the tip of his skis, couldn't get current media companies to support it. Okay, with Warren taking over as Chicago Bears president on April 17th, could a new commissioner with perhaps a stronger presentation, in other words, better communication, convince the Big Ten presidents and chancellors that adding Washington and Oregon makes sense? It's possible. Oh no, Adam Rittenberg is saying it's possible. He's saying it's possible, ladies and gentlemen. That can't possibly mean he's part of the plot, does it? No, of course it doesn't. The people who we've talked to, he's saying it's possible. It's looming over the situation. Again, back to the article. If it happens, there would be more seismic change around the sport. I don't see anything happening right away, given the importance of getting a commissioner in place and the general flux among the Big Ten president-chancellor group. And there is flux, which existed throughout Warren's tenure. That is also true. But once leadership is in place, the Big Ten could be the place to watch again. Heather Dinich. One lesson learned after about 2 decades covering college football is that realignment is never over. Here at PATC, we say the number one rule in realignment, it never sleeps. But it wouldn't be surprising if the next move wasn't as seismic as the speculation might indicate. The Pac-12 could add San Diego State and SMU following its next television deal, and that could be the extent of the next round of realignment. These decisions are made by the university's presidents and chancellors, and unless there's a great disparity in revenue, they aren't going to move their academic institutions, period. The question is, what's the gap in revenue? And I would also add, PATC would also add, what's also the gap in visibility? Because there's many people worried about that as well, unless you don't want to believe those people saying that. What's the gap in revenue that would prompt Pac-12 presidents to seriously consider the Big 12? 10 million? 20? More? In the Big 10, are there enough university presidents who would be willing to share the revenue with 18 schools? The Pac-12's television deal holds the crux of these answers. In other words, if that television deal comes in so low, I think this is what Heather's saying. The Pac-12 television deal, if it comes in so low, where Washington and Oregon would be willing to take even a lower discount than previously probably discussed between them and the Big Ten, well, sharing it among 18 schools when 2 of them are taking a lower discount and a possible new media company is coming in and willing to pay for the freight to grease the skids, we shall see. But again, people are actually talking about this because sources are actually giving them information about this. Not every source comes from the same perch. Not every source has the same interest. People can disagree. Will Notre Dame ever join the ACC or another conference? David Hale, on good nights, I suspect ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips dreams of a call from Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick announcing, "This is the day." Amid a very uncertain future for the ACC, this would be akin to winning the lottery. All those big revenue issues would be addressed. The future would look bright and all would be right with the world. The small problem here is that it isn't going to happen. Notre Dame's contract with the ACC gives the Irish all it needs for its non-football sports and creates no incentive for them to join the ACC in football. With a new expanded playoff, the odds are even lower. And while the contract tethers the Irish, at least to a degree, the ACC network part, to the ACC, buying their way out of that deal wouldn't be impossible should the Big Ten make a particularly lucrative offer. The Big Ten has already made that big offer. It's already written in the contract. Notre Dame is going to make a whole heck of a lot of money, way more than anybody. They would bring up the whole entire Big Ten media contract. Now, can Notre Dame get close to that with a standalone contract with NBC? We're going to find out. We are going to find out. In other words, back to the article. In other words, plan A for Notre Dame is independence. There's also plan B. It's also plan B, plan C, and plan D. And if a time comes where those options are off the table, the ACC is unlikely to be plan E. And we've said that from the very beginning here at Peek Around the Corner. Rittenberg, his opinion, his prediction on Notre Dame. Notre Dame will only join a conference once the mythical Super League is finally formed. And there's a clear delineation between the programs competing at the highest level of the sport. I still think there's another cycle or two away. But Notre Dame ultimately wants to compete for the national championships. Until the school's access to the champion stage is stripped away, it will remain independent in football. Independent means too much to Notre Dame's identity. But if the sport trends towards some type of breakaway with 30 to 40 programs, Notre Dame will have to agree to change its status. So Rittenberg's basically saying Notre Dame is not going to join any conference until that Super League is formed. A different prediction than the others, and that's okay. Dinich, this is her prediction. Her statement on Notre Dame. Swarbrick told me last summer there are 3 potential reasons why the university would consider relinquishing its independent status. The loss of a committed broadcast partner, the loss of a fair route into postseason, or such an adverse financial consequence that you had to reconsider. And it's that third one. in our opinion here at Peek Around the Corner, that they're going to have to make sure they're okay with here going forward. Can NBC, and plus all these super conferences are going to be creating some different revenue streams that I don't think Notre Dame is going to be able to match, but we shall see. Any of those three factors seem highly unlikely anytime soon, and Notre Dame's independent runs deeper than its football program. It's a university-wide sense of identity and history, so deeply rooted that not even the news of a pending 16-team SEC and Big Ten was enough to rattle the Irish into change. The 12-team playoff will only help Notre Dame, and Swarbrick was one of the co-authors of the original proposal. If Notre Dame joins the conference, it probably won't be during this leadership tenure. Are we moving toward a future of just two super leagues? David Hell, the ultimate tipping point may come if and when the courts determine a serious shakeup of the college sports model is necessary. If athletes are deemed as employees and the schools can spend them, most of the best players have a built-in advantage. There's essentially becomes no path forward for anyone playing outside the SEC in the Big Ten. Regardless of the legal consequences, some teams like Florida State, Clemson, Oregon, and Washington, which aim to win the national championship, would be in a move or die situation. So when you say, Greg, there's no chance for any of those ACC schools to even challenge the grant of rights, which we at Peek Around the Corner have said it's a high hurdle to overcome. But when we gave you the peek on December 26th, what was about to be announced, what was going to happen about Florida State, the money perch, it has to do with the change in landscape. And does that grant of rights still hold up? How risky is it for Florida State and Clemson to actually challenge the grant of rights when it looks like they're going to be getting doubled up on when it comes to yearly media payouts to SEC and Big Ten teams? How risky is it for Florida State to challenge the grant of rights? What do they have to lose when they're already losing? If, and we expect this to happen, if this change where student athletes become employees and they're getting direct deposits from the conference and the schools or both, that's a whole new world. It's a whole new world in college football and in college sports. I'm going to skip a little bit here. No one ever mentions contraction as an option, but financially, it makes a lot of sense. As bad as the revenue disparities are shaping up to be right now, there's only so many new football operations buildings and nutrition centers a school can build for recruiting purposes. But if schools are forced or allowed to pay athletes directly, then the correlation between money and wins will get far stronger and the race to super conferences will be on. And I'm telling you, as Peek Around the Corner, since episode 1, this is what we have said is going on. The correlation between money and winning will blow away anything that we have seen in the last 120 years. Of course, it's why we said on March 31st that USC called the Big Ten. On March 31st through June 30th, we explained the reasons why, and it's centered around this last part of David Hale, what he's saying. There's going to be other schools, not a whole lot of them, but there's a handful of them, a half a handful of them, that could potentially have a landing spot in the SEC and the Big Ten, and they're going to do all they can to get in there. That's why Washington and Oregon are going to keep swinging away. And that's looming over the Pac-12 meeting negotiations right now. It's causing a prisoner dilemma. No, it doesn't automatically mean that the Pac-12 is about to implode in the next 2 weeks. But it means it's there. It's there and people are talking about it. Sources are talking about it. And you can't wish that away by just putting a big, large dragnet over everybody and saying, if you are stating that sources are saying this, you are part of some plot or you are lying and you are unethical. It's not fair. It's not true. It's definitely not true. Conley. I still think that the most likely scenario is more of a power 2 and a light heavyweight 3 situation. Not unlike what we see in the European soccer. If the Big Ten and the SEC expand beyond 16 schools, which at this point feels almost inevitable, and yes it does, there will still be a lot of schools willing and occasionally able to compete with lower budgets. I absolutely agree. I don't even think it's going to be a 3 I think it's going to be 4 conferences. Power 2 and then the next 2 when it comes to resources, revenue. But it doesn't mean that the other 2 conferences can't compete occasionally for a national championship. Of course they can. Football is a pretty addictive pursuit after all. And honestly, a 12-team playoff with spots for 6 conference champions might turn out to be a saving grace of sorts. The problem is it's only for 2024 and 2025. 2026, I got a hunch it's going to look even more different. Even if the SEC and the Big Ten, back to the article, even if the SEC and the Big Ten gobble up a majority of at-large bids in a given year, assuring at least 5 spots for teams outside those conferences will assure the rest of the FBS. However it looks in the future, we'll have something to play for. But again, all of that, Conley is absolutely correct. That's why I like the 12-team playoffs. That's why I like the 6-team automatic berths for the top 6 conference-ranked champions. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. But the problem is, that playoff format is only secured for 2024 and 2025. So 2026 is the great unknown. It could be a lot more. Well, you've heard me talk about that before. Dinich, her thoughts on the Super League, her predictions. It depends on what you consider Super Leagues. I'd argue SEC and the Big Ten will already qualify for that in 2024. There are too many other respectable FBS programs to try and sort that out. And for many of these university presidents, there's an academic bar that must be met if they are going to agree to bring other universities into their club. NIL will continue to drive a wedge between the wealthiest programs and everyone else, even within their own conferences. See Maryland or Ohio State. Regardless of how large they become, before presidents and conference commissioners think about super conferences, they should prepare to pay players. And they're going to be. That's going to happen. What group of 5 teams can make the jump to Power 5? This is the last part of the article that we're going to go through. There's more to the article, and you can read it all. Go to the link in the description box below this video. Rittenberg, in regards to what he believes, what G5 schools can become Power 5 schools. Rittenberg says the following: San Diego State is positioned well to join the Pac-12 or Big 12 in the near future. There's no other available FBS playing school in Southern California after USC and UCLA's departures to the Big Ten. I agree. We called it the perfect storm here for San Diego State all the way back to episode number 4 of this YouTube channel in August. San Diego State has had success in both football and men's basketball, and its new stadium reflects its investment in football and wanting to raise its profile. SMU is more of a projection candidate because of the money around the school. Can SMU follow a TCU-like path to prominence as a Power 5 member? That's the gamble with a smaller private school despite an appealing Dallas location. The Big 12 clearly wants to move to the West, so I wonder if the Boise State has enough appeal. The long-term football success there definitely helps. Memphis has a lot of ingredients to be a Power 5 and seems to be getting left behind. The location doesn't really help, but Memphis has invested in its top two programs. We'll see if similar investments at South Florida better positions the school for the next round of realignment after really getting left behind this time around. South Florida is investing a lot of money in investigating and looking at potential on-campus football stadium, a new on-campus football stadium. It looks like they're going to pull the trigger on all of that. Kyle says, I agree with Adam that San Diego State is the obvious choice. With a new stadium, the still somewhat recent departure of the Los Angeles Chargers, the size of the market, and sustained athletic success, San Diego State is a no-brainer. However, they aren't the only team in California that can make the jump. Fresno State can too. It's located in a region of the state with a large population base that doesn't have great access to any professional teams, great point, and already has impressive fan support. With the added resources that could come with being at a Power 5 level, there would be a clear path for Fresno State to be able to compete regularly with the mid-tier Power 5 programs, especially when considered the Bulldogs are almost always able to compete as things stand. Hell, his comment on what schools could possibly make the jump from G5 to Power 5, the jump is really a two-part question. There are certainly programs that could join the Big 12 or ACC or Pac-12 and within a couple of years field competitive teams. But is there a program out there that would also have a chance to grow into a serious brand? Something that moves the needle financially? The additions of the Big 12, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, were about adding the next best things, not creating true value for a league that just lost two genuine brands. The Pac-12's flirtations with San Diego State or SMU offers some upside, with two programs more than capable of winning. But will they become must-see TV for Oregon and Washington fans when their teams face off? There's always long-term growth potential with places like USF and North Texas. But that's a matter of decades, not years. And there are established fan bases for schools like Memphis or Navy, but they're far from crown jewels that would fetch a hefty TV deal. The truth is, the entire idea of the Power 5 may be irrelevant soon, and the teams that truly move the needle for the big picture do so because of decades of success and fan investment. It's nearly impossible to create that now at places where it doesn't already exist. And finally, last part of the article, Conley, that we're covering today. Conley, let's start with this. Not including one-year FBS member James Madison, there are 10 programs that have averaged a positive SP plus rating, meaning they're better than the average FBS team over the past decade without being a power conference team or Notre Dame. Boise State, Memphis, UCF, Appalachian State, Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, San Diego State, Air Force, and Marshall. All of them are better than the average FBS team in a power conference over the last decade. 4 of those programs just got gobbled up by the Big 12. And San Diego State remains the leading candidate to join an expanded Pac-12 if or when the Pac-12 is able to expand. Geography suggests Memphis would be a top candidate in the Big 12 if it were to decide to expand further. And geography also suggests Boise State might continue to get the short end of the realignment stick. But with the 4 making the Big 12 jump this year, the list of obvious high potential candidates shrank considerably. So that's it. ESPN staff made their predictions on realignment, and they didn't agree with each other. And no, it's not shocking because everybody has a different angle to it. People talk to different people. So there it is. So I want you to put comments What do you think about those predictions? Give us a phone call when we do open up the phone line. The number is 763-260-1333. That's the PATC phone line. I want to get to one more item in our monologue here. PATC Chalk Talk are way too early. 2023 Heisman Watch. We did a quick episode yesterday on it. Just want to go, I'm going to go real quick, because I want people to put comments or call in about who they think should be in the top 3, 4, 5, 6 in the Heisman race to start this season. We're talking about it in March. Is it crazy? Yes. But at Peek Around the Corner, we talk about everything in college football. So it's only going to get crazier, the things we talk about here in the spring leading into summer. Number 6, I got Brock Bowers, the tight end of Georgia. Only 2 tight ends have ever won the Heisman Trophy in the history, I think 88 years. Larry Kelly from Yale, Leon Hart from Notre Dame back in 36 and 49. I call Bowers. I think he is the straw that stirs the drink for Georgia. Again, most of the time when we talk about people who are the straws that stir the drink for teams, we're talking about the quarterback, the signal caller, the guy behind the center. But for Georgia, I think it's different. I think Brock Bowers is the guy who steers the drink. Everybody has to pay attention to Brock Bowers when he's on the football field. His 2,000 stats, real quickly, 63 receptions, 942 yards, 7 touchdowns, an elite grade blocking tight end. I got Brock Bowers on our top 6. Quinshon Judkins, running back of Ole Miss, the highest grade for true freshman running backs in 2022. Lane Kiffin used him often. He used them effectively. He was awesome as a true freshman. He rushed for 86 first downs, the 3rd most in Power 5 football. Quickly, his 2022 stats, over 1,500 yards rushing, 5.7 yards average, 16 touchdowns, and he's got his quarterback coming back. Jackson Dart returning as the Ole Miss quarterback. Quincy Judkins, I couldn't leave him off my top 6 list. There's no way. Number 4, Marvin Harrison from the Ohio State Buckeyes. The unguardable one. That's what we call him at Peek Around the Corner. He can't be guarded one-on-one. 2022, 90.2 grade. Pro Football Focus, he led all Power 5's receiver. His 2022 stats, 77 receptions, over 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. But the question is, the main question, that's why I don't have Mr. Harrison in my top 3, in my way too early Heisman Watch. Who's going to be the Buckeyes quarterback for 2023? McCord, Devin Brown, whoever it is, it's going to be a first-year starter out there in Columbus. A lot of pressure. That might slow Harrison down just a bit. I'm sure there's Buckeye fans in the chat room who disagree with me. Michael Penix Jr., quarterback of Washington. You all know, if you've been following Peek Around the Corner, I love the Washington Huskies for 2023. I think they're going to win the Pac-12. I think they're going to the 4-team invitational. He led all of college football in 2022 in passing yards. Penix Jr., after transferring from Indiana, brought the Huskies to an 11-2 record, their best season in 5 years. Quickly, his 2022 stats, 4,641 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But the money shot, the real reason why I think Penix Jr. should be in the top 3 in the way too early Heisman Watch is because his great receivers, Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan, they're coming back. They're coming back. They're going to run it back again. Penix, Odunze, McMillan, and then the offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, who was pursued by Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's coming back. He didn't go to Alabama. He signed a 2-year extension with Washington. That's why I got Penix number 3. Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina. The year that he had last year, well, it's in the record books, man. It was unbelievable. May led all Power 5 quarterbacks with a 91.6 grade, according to Pro Football Focus. 41 big-time throws, 6 more than any other FBS quarterback in 2022. 512 yards rushing after contact. Quickly, his 2022 stats: 4,321 passing yards, 66% completion, 38 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 157.9, and to add to that, 698 yards rushing. A dual threat quarterback who's at the top of the game both ways, running and throwing. Drake May, he should be my number 1. He should be everybody's number 1, according to my opinion. Right? However, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And the man is the 2022 Heisman winner, Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. Archie Griffin is the only 2-time Heisman winner in history. Lincoln Riley, though, is the offensive mastermind. So you got 2 things going on here. History is fighting against Caleb Williams to win the Heisman in 2023. But Lincoln Riley, if he's your head coach, as a quarterback, you got a leg up on everybody else. Quickly, the 2022 stats: over 4,500 yards passing. Again, 66.6 completion percentage, 42 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. A quarterback rating higher than anybody else that we've mentioned. A quarterback rating last year of 168.5. And finally, USC was 11-3 in 2022, which, in my opinion, they overperformed expectations. Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, the USC program overperformed, overachieved. They have a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball. 11-3 in 2022. They ended the season with losses to Utah in the Pac-12 Conference Championship game and Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. There's a danger of voter fatigue. So therefore, for Caleb Williams to grab history by the collar and to win the Heisman for the 2nd year in a row, being the first guy to do it since Archie Griffin back in 74 and 75, to do that, I think USC is going to have to even perform over what they did 2022. They might have to run the table. They're going to have to win the Pac-12 championship and go to the playoffs for Caleb Williams to win this again. So give me your comments. Give me your comments. What you think. What's going on. Heisman Trophy. The Heisman Watch for 2023. All right. Okay, here. Let's get to your comments. I'll open up the phones in just a little bit. It's going to be the Gophers, though. Winning the Big Ten West? I don't know. Monavision says Notre Dame will have to bend the knee at some point. Random tease. Rule is overrated. He never beat a top 25 team at Baylor. His final season at Baylor was a fluke. Random tease. I think Rule is a very good coach. We'll see. I can't rip on the guy what he did at Baylor. What he did at Baylor was sensational. And at Temple. I do believe he did beat somebody in the top 25, because I looked into that before. But he didn't beat many, if he beat anybody at all. But that's, you beat who's in front of you in the schedule. And that Baylor program, that was in desperate shape. I think Matt Rule is a very good coach. If there's one question I have about Matt Rule, and he only increased my questioning of it in his tenure with the Carolina Panthers. I'm not sure. I hope somebody else is evaluating quarterbacks. Because Matt Rule did a horrible job at evaluating quarterbacks at Carolina Panthers. And I do not like the first few steps that he's made at Nebraska when it's come to his quarterback evaluation. So that, I'm keeping an eye on that. But overall, he's been a sensational college football coach. I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten West, but I do think it's a hodgepodge. I think it's a complete mess. Monovision, Kerry Kenny for Big Ten commissioner. Could be. He's been working for the Big Ten for quite a while. Ryan Matson, Sky Yuma. I know the Gopher fans are very upset with me. I think they're taking a step and a half back from the last 3 full football seasons. David Hookstead does not buy Pac-12 stability due to Oregon and Washington, believing they have $40 million waiting in the Big Ten. You know, that's the thing is the timing of it, right? The timing of it. Everything has to go just right for it to happen. We said here, peek around the corner, the moment that it was officially announced that USC was going to the Big Ten on June 30th, we said right away, because we were the ones that had the information that USC was going to the Big Ten, right, on March 31st. So when it happened, we were ready. We said that very moment that the Big Ten was going to look at, their targets were Oregon, Washington, Notre Dame, Stanford. And other reports went out there too, but we were like, right when that was announced that USC was going to the Big Ten. There was interest. No question about it. And it wasn't just Kevin Warren. But again, people were worried about Kevin Warren during the USC saga that was going on between March 31st and June 30th. I've been through all that story. If you need more of that story, go to Flug Empire and read the pin tweet. Kevin Warren he was not a consensus builder. He couldn't build consensus. He couldn't whip up the votes. Past the obvious UCLA and USC grabbing the entire city of Los Angeles as Big Ten country. Fox Sports wanted the entire city of Los Angeles. Kevin Warren couldn't do the next step. He did not have the political skill set. Also, the money. Where's that money coming from? Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for that $80 million that Oregon and Washington may be coming as a discount, $40 million per school? Some other media company's going to have to put forward, maybe Amazon, but I don't think Fox Sports is willing to do it. No one else is willing to pay more. So it's Big Ten doesn't have a commissioner. Is Oregon and Washington going to wait around until middle of April? Did they get enough positive feedback? Of course, there's people talking. That's the cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. That's going on between. Of course, Oregon and Washington have some idea of where they stand with the Big Ten right now. But again, they don't even have a commissioner yet. So is Washington and Oregon going to wait around yet? These are all great questions. And to bring them up and to have sources tell you, saying yes, Oregon and Washington, the door's cracked open, Pete Thamel, it's looming over the rest of the Pac-12. That's not some part of some big old plot out there that's being engineered and coordinated by Endeavor and CBS and 247 Sports and others are playing right into it. No, that's absolutely incorrect, to say it kindly. And I'm going to try to be kind. Back to your comments. Jerry Jones, Caleb Williams is a monster. Yes, he's a monster. If they get that defense figured out, USC will be in the playoffs. Yes, 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 Jared Jones. Absolutely correct. Okay. Yeah, I don't like... look, there's only a few rules that you have to follow in the chat room. One, you have to respect each other. You can't have any hate language out there. Politics is not a part of Peek Around the Corner, your national politics stuff. You also pretend to be somebody else, or you're trying to do some parody act. You will also be hidden. You'll be banned from the show. Anything else, disagreements, that's fine. Have fun. Cloak and Dagger responsible. Do that responsible. But yeah, thank you for the heads up. We're not into this parody stuff. We're trying to talk college football here. We're trying to disagree with each other. Yes, it's okay. It's okay to disagree with each other here at Peek Around the Corner. Gopher fans, you can be mad at me and say the Gophers again will win 9 games. Give it to me. Tell me I'm wrong. Don't sleep on Jordan Travis. Oh, I'm not sleeping on Jordan Travis. And you know that, Sean. I'm not sleeping. I got Florida State in the 4-team invitational. I mean, Sam Hartman, Jordan Travis. If I would have had a 10-person list on that, Jordan Travis would be on there. Shoot, Jared Verse might be on there, defensive end from the Seminoles. Sam Hartman would be on there. I can't believe there's talk in South Bend that this, well, I understand coach speak. I understand the coach is saying there's going to be a true competition to be the quarterback one of Notre Dame between Tyler Buckner and Sam Hartman. I get the coach speak, but more and more fans are saying, hey, we're going to have a competition. Sam Hartman might not even be the starting quarterback. Oh, come on. Come on. Sam Hartman has to be the starting quarterback. Monovision, Mr. Buckeye. Archie will remain the only 2-time winner until Archie Manning wins it. Until Archie Manning wins it for 2 years as the quarterback at Texas. How about that, Monovision? How about that? Patrick Boren, Gregory, David Hookstead had an article this morning about the Pac-12 deal being completed by end of March and mostly streaming according to Forbes. If anyone can send me a link, the Forbes link saying that they expected something by the end of March, they better have it done by the end of March. It's going to be fascinating to look at that Pac-12 deal when it's signed by those 10 schools looking for expansion. It's going to be fascinating to open up the hood and take a look at how much of it's streaming, how much of it's linear. Is there any unequal revenue sharing? How many times you should expect to be on your tier 1 games? Where are they going? Where are the tier 3 games? The content, where is that going? It's going to be fascinating to watch, to play out. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel because we could come on anytime with live show, breaking news. We do watch parties. We're going to be doing watch parties for spring football games. I know that sounds crazy, but we're crazy in love with college football here at Peek Around the Corner. So subscribe to our channel, smash that like button. If you want to support this channel, hit the donation, hit the $. We're completely independent. No strings attached. We call it like it is. We get everybody upset with us at some point during the week. Ooh, yes. K-Do. Jalen Daniels from Kansas. He's got to stay healthy, though. He's got to stay healthy. Can't run him too much, Leopold. Can't run him too much. Lee, with all this Texas A&M talk, they do have who may be an outstanding quarterback in Connor Weigman. Connor Weigman, or however you say his name, when he was being recruited by everybody, I loved his high school tape. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that dude. No question about it. Ooh, no. Arch Manning is the next Chris Sims? No! Great for Trojan. Nice to see you in the house. Greg, what Big Ten schools would be supportive of adding Oregon and Washington, and why? Well, first of all, they're not going to give up any money to add Oregon and Washington, so it has to do with the money, and it has to do with the exposure. Who is the media company that's coming in to pay for the expansion? How many times would a Minnesota have to play on a streaming platform, for example? How many times would they expect to be playing on a stream? There's a whole bunch that goes into it. But why would they? First of all, if the economics plays out where to Washington and Oregon would come in at such a discount, where none of the other Big Ten schools would take any less money in their slice of the pie, where the Big Ten presidents would come together and say, look, we're not going to have USC and UCLA home on an island all by themselves 30 years from now, 20 years from now. So what is the most beneficial and efficient, cost-effective way of expanding out in the Pac Pacific Coast? When should that happen? Well, it could be right now. It may not get any more dire for the Pac-12 than right now. Most cost-effective way to add on to your Big Ten Pacific Coast might be right now. So that might be the why. Now, if the Big Ten presidents and whoever the new commissioner are sitting around a table and if they're asking themselves, should we even expand out in the Pacific Coast ever again? Well, then Washington and Oregon, it's not happening. But you know what? They're not saying that, though. They're not. It wasn't, I don't know how to, we said it at the time, when as much as I rake Kevin Warren over the coals during the pandemic and how he communicated, he did not communicate, and how sometimes he does his job poorly, even in this expansion, what happened there. When Big Ten had meetings with Oregon and Washington, when they had a meeting with Oregon and Chicago, when they had a meeting with Washington in New York, when there was representatives of the Big Ten meeting with representatives with Washington, representatives in the Big Ten meeting with representatives in Oregon, 2 separate meetings, 2 separate cities, that wasn't just a Kevin Warren situation. It just wasn't. The deal was, it didn't get done because all those hurdles you have to overcome to expand didn't get completed. Partially, it was a Kevin Warren issue. No question about it. Even with his own current media companies, there's a problem between Kevin Warren and them. And then they didn't see the money coming from another media company to get it done. But the interest in Washington and Oregon, it's not just Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren is gone. And the interest is there. You don't have to, look, we said last week, yeah, the door is cracked open, but the timing has to be there. The money has to be there. A lot of hurdles have to overcome. A week before that, Pete Thamel says the Big Ten door is cracked open. Wittenberg says today there's still interest. We've been saying it for months. We said in episode 52, Oregon and Washington, they're going to keep swinging away because there's interest. It doesn't mean it's going to get done, but there's interest. So I think they've already, from what I can say, Grateful Trojan, you can take this however you want it. I think they've already made the decision that when they get to a 20-school conference, and if they bridge out to 24, which they're probably going to do 10 years from now, it's not going to be just USC and UCLA on the Pacific Coast. And every other Big Ten school is from Lincoln to Florida, from Lincoln to Piscataway. That's not. I think they've made that decision. That is not what we're going to look like. So therefore, when's the best time? It might not be the best time right now because you don't even have a commissioner. But if it is the best time, for cost-effective way, if Oregon and Washington are going to come in at such a discount for the next 7 years, so that's the why. What schools are in favor of it now? I don't know. We know there's some. So I actually think, wholeheartedly think, and we have reasons to think that Nebraska was for more expansion out in the West. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay, let's open up the phone lines. I want to hear what you guys think about the ESPN predictions, your Heisman, or anything else you want to talk about in college football. So we're going to open it up. The number, once again, is 763-260-1333. Don't be afraid. You can talk about anything. You can say, Greg, you're wrong about A, B, C, D, and you're wrong about your Golden Gophers. Give us a call.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, you're in the house. Thanks for calling. The floor is
Greg.
yours, sir.
Hi, Greg. I'm calling from Boulder, Colorado today. I'm actually out here seeing one of my media clients a little bit south of here. But
Okay.
you know, just for all the conspiracy theorists out there, no, Big 12 Karen is not paying me to is not paying me to do this. So
Duly
anyway,
noted.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's sort of off the. I think things have gotten off the rails at this point. It's sort of comical, and you know, I'm just surprised at that. But I was actually looking at the details of the Big Ten deal with NBC and CBS and Fox, and sort of the ratings. And after going through some of the calculations, it turns out that sort of the market rate of what the Big Ten is getting is about $4 per viewer. And, you know, if we were to apply that to the Pac-12, $4 per viewer, the problem the Pac-12 has, and I know people don't want to hear this, but the afternoon slots are gone. And those are the ones that get the biggest ratings. You know, according to Bob Thompson, and others, the average rating for Pac-12 After Dark is 1.5 million viewers. If you multiply that by $4 that I talked about per viewer, that's about $6 million per game, or for a 15-game package, it's about $90 million. Now, if they get a couple of primetime slots thrown in there, the number for the ESPN part of just a game or two is probably being around $100 million. It's actually probably pretty reasonable. You know, the question is going to be for Amazon and for Apple is they're probably not going to pay any different for the market rate than that $4 I mentioned, and that rate could be lower given the changing economic circumstances. But I mean, the question is, in order for Amazon to bridge the gap of the money between, after the ESPN portion of 100 million and the other 20 million or 200 million or 210 million you would need to break even with the Big 12, the Amazon Wednesday or Friday night slot would need to average 3.5 million viewers, which the Pac-12 championship game on a linear platform on Friday night only got 4.5 million viewers. I don't think that they're pulling 3.5 million viewers on Amazon. So I think it's very interesting to see what happens. Mm-hmm. They can't continue to put content on the Pac-12 network because it's not making money. The distribution is so poor and the cost, or they have not made a profit on the Pac-12 market yet, Pac-12 network, and they pushed half their games there. It's just been an example of just gross mismanagement of things. But I think the biggest issue here is I think they are where they're at, and in just sort of looking at some calculations, and whether it's the ESPN Plus and having Amazon do a game, I think the peak, or the peak market value they're going to come out is about $28 million per school. Is probably the peak they're going to come out at, but we'll see, and that's being pretty generous. But the exposure is the real issue, and I think you pointed that out more than anyone else has. The exposure is the main issue, and if Oregon and Washington, there's not anything that I've seen, Greg, that there is no long-term public commitment. I've not seen one quoted word from anyone out of the athletic department from Oregon or Washington saying that we're committed in perpetuity to the Pac-12. And
they're staying quiet.
Yeah, and the thing is like you mentioned previously, in Washington is easy to it's very digestible, and that makes sense. Washington makes perfect sense as far as the profile of the Pac-12 is looking for, and Washington knows that, and they're just biding their time. And maybe if they get to the playoffs like you kind of predicting for the Pac-12, that could really add some steam to Washington to eventually get that invite, whether it's 2 months or 6 years from now. And they know that. And the interesting thing is, depending on what the university presidents want, Oregon is not. Oregon would be dead last in research spending in the Big Ten, and I don't know. I would probably think the bigger targets for the Big Ten, actually, if they are going to go west, would be Stanford and Washington. So Oregon doesn't seem to think that, but as long as Oregon and Washington think that there are greener pastures ahead, it's going to be a hard time getting an immediate deal. And if you're Arizona State and Arizona, you have to sit back and think, do I want to be behind a streaming wall for the next 6 years and then have my brand decrease in value, which it will with less exposure, and have less leverage power with the Big 12 or any other conference? That's a question that I don't think you wait. You got to make the move. And, I regret to inform people that, but, that's the reality. Now, if the reality comes out that the Pac-12 cobbles together some sort of deal with Apple TV, Amazon, and ESPN, and some of those games will be on ESPN Plus, you're talking about 3 subscription fees, Greg, that the viewers would have to pay. Yeah. Now, the fans, that may not be a problem with the fans, but that, for people that you're trying to recruit, you're shooting your nose off. And, and I think they realize that. And the biggest problem is CU maybe waking up, and, ASU and Arizona know this, but I'm just absolutely surprised that someone like Mark Harlan at Utah would start commenting publicly on a Dennis Dodd article, because, it's this level of delusion that, I hate to tell Utah fans, you will never be in the Big Ten because you don't have a fan base larger than 1.5 million people. You never will. Your state's limited. Your geographic fan footprint is limited. I mean, you're not Nebraska. You're not Oklahoma. It doesn't matter. That's what this is all shifting towards brand size. And, ultimately, I think the prediction, as I tweeted in response to you, I think in 20 years, I think it's very possible that we basically have 3 different kind of leagues based on, I'm not talking conferences, I'm talking, leagues based on brand value and kind of money spent and, kind of different, basically have the reordering of the divisions in 1A. And I would not be surprised to see within each of those levels if there's 2 or 3 conferences. And I think that's sort of where we're headed. And I'll also point out that I think it makes total sense in the long run for football to be divorced completely from the Olympic sports, where you may not even have conferences. You just may have this league that exists of certain brands at a certain level. I think that's 20 years in the making. But, as you mentioned, I think that nobody's safe here. And if it comes to the point where you have sort of a semi-pro amateur league of, 30 teams for tier 1 and, 30 or 40 teams for tier 2 and 30 or 40 teams for, tier 3, I think that's very much possible. And you could still have the conferences for the Olympic sports. But I think that the way things are going right now, the networks are more and more inclined to pay for what they want. They're not willing to pay for some of the dead weight on these conferences. So I don't think anyone's safe. So it'll be interesting to see. Yep. I still think that evolution's 20 years away, so it's not imminent. But, those are just my thoughts today, Greg. I think you've done a great job. Thank you for responding to the ludicrousy out there. Yeah. And no, it's not a conspiracy theory, people. It's just how things change with technology, market spending, and knowledge and business strategy, and that's just what you have to accept as a reality. Anyway, take care, Greg.
Thanks.
I'm out. Have a great day.
Great call. Thank you. All right, I'm just closing the phone lines for just a second. I want to talk about this Harlan tweet about Dennis Dodd's article. I was really slow to respond to this because I did not think it was going to go in the direction that it went. Harlan said, "Give me a break," in regards to the Dennis Dodd article, which we covered here, live show episode, Big 12 ready to pounce. Here's the question that I have. When he said, "Give me a break," what does that even mean? So many people rallied to this cause, like Utah's not going to the Big 12. Yeah, they're probably not going to the Big 12. They don't have any interest. These schools don't have interest in leaving the Pac-12. The question is, they might be forced to leave. There might be a poach. Big Ten might poach Oregon, Washington. Was Harlan saying, "Give me a break," to the part of Dennis Dodd's article where he's talking about Oregon and Washington? Dennis Dodd covered about 5 or 6 points in this article. Look, I'm going to put up the pictures of the article real quick here. Right? I'm just, he talked about so many different things. He talked about your mark, having a vision. It might only take one of the 4 corner schools to bolt from the Pac-12. Now, was he saying, "Give me a break on that"? Okay. But again, I think there's too much of. He should have been, if you really want to make a comment as an athletic director, be specific, saying, what part of Dennis Dodd's article was he off base, or was he lying? Like everyone is now taking shots at these reporters who've been around for 10, 20, 30 years. Yeah, they get things wrong. Yes, they have sources telling them something different than another source is telling somebody else. But are they purposely lying because somebody in Endeavor is telling them to lie, or giving them money underneath the table? Exactly. I find the whole thing absolutely ridiculous. Gold and blue dude, you're absolutely right. Give me a break. Plausible deniability. That could be it. But again, gold and blue dude. I mean, give me a break. It meant, it doesn't mean anything because he didn't explain what he meant by it. So then everybody's going off. I know a lot of you people saw what I did last night on Twitter, calling people out because of this just ridiculous conspiracy stuff. On this YouTube channel, we have this Arizona State money perch guy. He comes out. You don't have to believe him. That's fine. Say, Greg, you're wrong. That's fine. But we're not part of some plot. He comes out on January 31st, a day after the Pac-12 meeting, and he says, Arizona State's frustrated. They're upset at the process. They voiced their displeasure, but they're not in control of it. They're not in control. Arizona would have to move first before Arizona State. We talked about all this on live show. We talked about it on our episodes. Then a couple weeks later, Ray Anderson, Arizona State's own athletic director, comes out in public and says we're frustrated. We're not going to get the deal we thought we were going to get. Yes, financially, we might be able to keep this. The deal might be worth financially enough to where we can keep this conference together. If you watch the interview and don't read the article, the interview's even worse. He was upset. He wasn't upset at Arizona State. He was upset with the Pac-12 conference. So, what? Ray Anderson is lying? Is he lying? Everything is bunnies and roses. Everything is fine. Happy days are here again. Of course there's a struggle behind the scenes. Of course there is. If Ray Anderson, the athletic director of Arizona State, is saying this out in public, you better believe people are saying things not in public. And they're telling reporters. Sports Business Journal, The Athletic, Dennis Dodd, Brett McMurphy, now 247. The entire 247 is part of the plot. You want to see? Harlan says, give me a break. Greg Pflugar, peek around the corner, says, give me a break. If someone is inaccurate, if someone gets the wrong information, that means they're lying. If everyone is lying except for this group out there on Twitter who thinks they have the truth to everything, if all of them are lying, then I'm going to put this out there. On March 31st, peek around the corner, Flag Empire, when we broke the news that USC called the Big Ten, do you know, we've talked about this before, but there are new people on this channel. Do you know how many people we gave that information to? A whole lot of people. And that includes the writers out in the Pac-12 that we talk about here daily. What did they do with that information? They even answered one of my questions on their mailbag and said, no, it's not happening. I said we got the goods. I said we even got the goods that we were being tracked by the Big Ten. We gave it to you at USC 247, Minnesota 247, All Eyes on Big Ten podcast. Searchers were the only ones who believed us. Plus a bunch of people in the chat room who were following us for the last years knew that we had the goods. Now, all those people in the Pac-12, all those writers, they were wrong. It took them by surprise. Even for 3 months, I was trying to tell them it's happening. Am I supposed to now level a charge that they were all part of a plot to keep the Pac-12 together? Am I supposed to level a charge that all of them were lying because they were all incorrect? Therefore, they were all lying, right? Because they were getting different information that they were believing based upon their history, their location, their bias, whatever comes into the human play. I had different information. We knew we had the goods. We couldn't convince them. USC 247 was convinced, and they were way ahead of the curve. They were giving their consumers, the people on USC 247, a peek around the corner. And all those other people that are talked about, the Pac-12 writers, they got it wrong. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they're bad reporters. It doesn't mean they're part of a plot. It doesn't mean they were getting paid off. They were just wrong. They were just wrong. Kazano and Wilner were wrong, Saltamores. They were wrong about the USC thing, going to the Big Ten. And yet, but they're not, that doesn't mean that they're liars and part of a plot. That doesn't mean the blue and gold dude is part of a plot. Just because it doesn't mean that Coos Corner is part of a plot. Mountaineer Paul is part of a plot. It doesn't mean Mark Rogers is part of a plot. Just because you have people telling you that things aren't going so well, that it's being repeated over and over again, it doesn't mean it's part of a plot. And if they end up wrong, if the Pac-12 stays together, expand or don't expand, it doesn't mean they were part of a plot. That's silliness. That's ridiculous. Dennis Dodd isn't writing his articles and getting them okayed by Endeavor. What in the heck is going on here? And then one last thing on this. Do not give sermons about who is trustworthy and who is not when you're sitting there in daily communications with people who hide behind Twitter handles, behind a smiley face, who all they do all day long is troll and lie. So consider that as well. Okay, I'm off this tangent, but that had to be said. Pac-12, this deal might work out for them. The streaming deal that they're going to get, large percent of it, way more than the other 4 power conferences, it might work. I don't think it will. It's a risk. And those who are in this discussion, the Pac-12 schools, they know it's a risk. Okay, well, you may not, if you don't want to believe that, that's fine too. But what I'm saying, it might work out. But that doesn't mean that if I was wrong about the Pac-12 media deal not working because it's so heavily on streaming, that doesn't mean I was lying. It doesn't mean I was part of a plot and anybody and all these other national reporters. Okay. Yeah, hit that like button. Hit that like button. The conspiracy theories coming out of the Pac scream desperation. If everything was going well within the conference, they wouldn't have to say a word. Yeah, just get the deal done. And you know what? Get the deal done. We'll look under the hood. We'll see if it works or not 3 or 4 years from now. I could be wrong, and if I am, we'll do a postmortem, and I'll say I was absolutely wrong. Ray Anderson has to be frustrated. He's about to lose exposure and possible budget cuts and falling further behind schools like Maryland, Rutgers, and Iowa. Absolutely. But Ray Anderson, and here's another point. In that interview, in that public interview, Ray Anderson was talking about his frustration with the process, with the results of the current Pac-12 media negotiations. Watch the whole interview. People try to deflect his frustrations off the fact that, he's frustrated because he's Arizona State's athletic director. Bunch of hogwash. He was frustrated. He talked about how it's not going to be what they expected it to be. Hopefully we'll get the deal done. Financially, it looks like we're going to be able to keep this conference together. That's a good positive point coming out of the interview. But to say that there's no source, that for somebody out there somehow have the total knowledge to know that every single possible source is not talking to any report about anything negative going on in the Pac-12 media negotiations is absolutely delusional. It's just like if I was to say, or anybody say, there's nothing positive coming out of those Pac-12 talks at all. Nothing. Nope. And if you say it is, you're lying. That's hogwash. We said it at the time at Peek Around the Corner last week. There were reports that things didn't go very well in the Pac-12 meeting negotiations, that they still haven't received that comprehensive deal, and they haven't, and that there were some schools disappointed in that, and they were. And then there were some reports that said that good progress was made during those meetings. Both those things can be true at the same time. It does not mean that that source lied, or that source lied, or that reporter lied, or that reporter lied. That doesn't work with me. That's why last night on Twitter, I had to say what I had to say. Because Golden Blue Dude and Mountaineer Paul, and he said it to this person yesterday on Twitter, and other people, we're being dragged into this dragnet. People are accusing us of being part of this conspiracy, of this endeavor plot, of lying. That's the problem with this. When you don't name names, when you're just saying that everybody who disagrees with me is lying, you're dragging everybody into your game. And I'm not playing. We're not playing here at Peek Around the Corner. Our Arizona State guy, our source on this story has nailed it from day one. So don't come and proven by what Ray Anderson said in public. So don't come back and say, well, Greg, you're just, reporters that repeat what Ray Anderson said and what you said, Greg. They're lies. They're part of a plot. That's ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. So we're not going to play. We're not playing here at Peek Around the Corner. Okay. We can be wrong. You guys know this. You guys are always telling me I'm Greg the Cooler on my predictions, right? Tell me I'm wrong. But don't tell me I'm part of a plot. Don't say that Dennis Dodd and Brett McMurphy and SBJ and everybody else is part of a plot just because they're not quite putting out the same information that you would like it for there to be put out. Okay. Phone lines are back on. 763-260-1333. Phone lines are back on. Thanks for giving me that time. Well, again, P. Duke 68 says Michelle Bodkin is a Utah grad. She lives in a bubble in Salt Lake City, nowhere near the amount of contacts McMurphy or Thamel. Again, I'm not, I read that article. We did a live show on it, an episode on it. I'll get back to it.
Call from
Moen.
Moen Vision, the floor is yours, Mr. Buckeye. What's going on? McCord or Devin Brown?
It's McCord.
Okay.
It's McCord all the way. Greg, you got to remember, too, that McCord was the high school quarterback with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, 5-star.
They got a rapport, so
yeah,
5-star. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will be just fine. He's going to win the Heisman. He's the best. He was the best wide receiver in the nation this year.
Yep.
He didn't win the Biletnikoff unjustly, I would say, but yeah, he's gonna win the Heisman this year. Top 5 pick next year. Whoever gets him in the NFL, it's a game changer. He's a Jamar Chase level, Justin Jefferson level,
yep,
wide receiver, game changer. Just go look at his highlight reel of some of the catches that guy makes. It is insane. I think I shared a GIF on your Twitter, that catch you made against Utah in the Rose Bowl a couple years ago that was just ungodly. So,
yeah.
But I wanted to touch base with you. You mentioned what schools were for and opposed to Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
I can tell you Ohio State was opposed to both.
Yeah.
And there was more support for Washington than there was Oregon.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep. Yep.
But beyond that, I couldn't tell you, but I would guess that you're probably right. Nebraska would be one of them.
Yeah.
They would like more West Coast teams, and probably Wisconsin too. I think Wisconsin would especially want someone like Washington in the conference.
Oh yeah, and I think Michigan as well for Washington.
Yeah, Michigan probably would want Washington as well for the research opportunities. But I have softened my stance a little bit. I do think if they can get them cheap enough, they would take Oregon and Washington. But they do want some assurances from Oregon, especially on the research side. But I wanted to talk about we need to get a commissioner in the Big Ten before that even happens.
Yeah. And, the timing. If this is possible, the timing might not even work out anyways. Maybe Washington and Oregon can't possibly wait that long. So, we need a Big Ten needs a commissioner.
And I think Kerry Kenny is probably the best candidate available right now.
Now he doesn't have any experience as a former commissioner, correct? He's an associate.
Correct.
Yeah.
He is the senior vice president of marketing for the Big Ten. He helped craft the media deal.
Yeah.
But he is a Big Ten lifer.
Yes. Yeah.
He came right out of college as an intern at the Big Ten Network and has worked his way up through the conference. So he's only about 38 years old. But from what I've heard from people at Ohio State, they consider him a bit of a wonderkind. Like I said, he put together this media deal. He helped put together the USC-UCLA deal. Only 38 years old, young guy, really young, but I mean, they may look that direction. They want to have a younger guy moving forward. And he is also an expansionist. He did want additional expansion. I don't think he wanted to go the full shebang like Kevin Warren did with Cal, Oregon, Stanford, and Washington.
Yeah.
But he's an expansionist, and he's a big supporter of getting Notre Dame into the conference. So,
I think you bring up a great name. I'm still wondering about Mark Silverman, the Fox Sports guy who used to be the first president of Big Ten Network. In regards to, I know Ryan Thomas brought up possibly Washington or Stanford being the combination. I really think it's down to Washington and Oregon. I don't think Stanford's in the game. I think one of the problems when Kevin Warren wanted to do the four schools, Washington, Oregon, California, Stanford, and like we said at Peek Around the Corner, nobody in the money perch had any steam in California at all. No interest. Didn't hear anything from them. One of the problems with Fox Sports is when and if the Big Ten expands, wherever they go, Big Ten Network needs to be sold in that fan base, in that location, right? It needs to pop like hot popcorn. It needs to pop. Subscriptions, people need to watch it. And I don't think Fox Sports thinks Northern California is going to purchase the Big Ten Network. So I think that's why Oregon, or it would in Oregon. It would in Oregon. It would in Washington.
Well, they're not gonna put it on the most basic package, which is where they're gonna get the most money. The most cartage fees is getting added to a basic.
But it would in Oregon and Washington. I mean, wherever they expand next, and I think there was and I think Kevin Warren and Fox Sports kind of went like this, just past. They weren't quite connected for whatever reason. And I think that's the big, but again, it's the timing issue. Can it get done? For example, if Amazon came up to the plate and said, we'll spend $100 million a year on Oregon and Washington, okay? $40 million to each school, $20 million to the rest of the schools, whatever. But this is $100 million, $110, $120 million package. If that happened, is there enough to is the timing, could it work to where that new commissioner can swing the votes to expand with Washington and Oregon, or is it too late? That's the question, I think.
I think it would have to be revenue neutral. He or she is going to have to get another media partner in there.
Yep.
And I do agree it would probably be Amazon. It would probably be a Friday game, but Amazon's going to have to understand they're only going to get the fourth best game. And, Washington and Oregon may have to understand that they're going to be playing the majority of those games on Friday nights.
Yeah.
That might be the commitment they have to make, but just wanted to throw that out there, Greg. I think also Oregon, like I said, has to make assurances on getting that research up.
Yep.
The boosters have to do more than just improve the athletics. They have to get the legislator and governor to loosen the cuffs a little bit, let them get a medical school on campus or allow them to have a dedicated college of engineering like Oregon State does. Yep. So, but great show, Greg.
Thanks.
Don't worry about people fighting with you on Twitter so much.
Well, I've been silent on that whole. I've been keeping quiet for a while, but it was a drumbeat of, if you're saying this, if you're doing this, if you think this, you're a part of this, and nah. I was having people starting to accuse me of being part of this plot. I was like, come on, okay, that's enough. So that's why, I had to say something.
You don't poke bears and you don't poke gophers.
Yeah, you don't poke gophers. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
See you later, Greg.
Yeah. Just hold on 1 second here. I'm going to take the phone line off. Just 1 second. I want to get to this. PD Duke 68 says, Michelle Bodkin is a Utah grad. She lives in a bubble. Salt Lake City, nowhere near the amount of contacts as Dodd, McMurphy, and Thamel, etc. We did a live show. I think we went through that article on a live show or on an episode. I think it was on a live show. Michelle Bodkin, KSL Sports out there in Utah, wrote an article, and I went through it. There's things I agreed with. Now, I got people disagreed with me on both sides, which is fine. Both sides of the angle there, because I said I agreed with some of the things she said. She said that the Pac-12 schools don't really want to separate from each other. It has to do with economics. They consider themselves as peers to each other. All that is true. We've been saying that from day one. And she said some stuff like, if they really are working with Amazon and Apple TV and possibly ESPN, that might take longer than expected. That's true as well. And then she said at the end of the article, she talked about how pay attention to those who are in the room, who are, pay attention to what they're saying, not these sources out here. Well, and she also said she can't find anybody who is telling a different story like she couldn't with all of her contacts and everything. That might be true. Everything she said might be true. And I gave her credit, and it was nice to read that article because it gave us a different perspective. But again, I would say what Ray Anderson said as an athletic director for Arizona State was out in public, and he was frustrated. So Michelle was saying, Bodkin in the article, she couldn't find anybody who was even saying that. Read her article. So I had to point that out. It was like, man, she did not mention Ray Anderson's interview. It's like that interview never even occurred. Like no one talks about it. And if they do, they say, well, he was only frustrated with his own school. That wasn't it at all. It's almost like that interview did not happen, which only buttressed what we received from our source, Arizona State Money Perch. The message was like that. It was so. But I'm not accusing Michelle Bodkin of being part of a plot because she didn't bring up the Ray Anderson interview or other or other points that I made in that live show. No, Michelle Bodkin, she had an angle. She had her, where she's from, her history, who she talks to. It does not make her a liar. It does not make her part of a plot. It doesn't make her on Team Pac-12 trying to send a certain message out. She wrote an article. I appreciated it. Again, it's okay for someone to disagree with you on certain points. It just means you have a disagreement. It doesn't mean that we have to demonize each other over disagreements. No one involved in the Pac-12 side is talking about their media deal. Stuart Mandel. I don't know what that means, U.S. Stuart definitely contradicts Bodkin. Yeah, other people, don't get me wrong, other people are reporting different things than Bodkin. But I guess what I'm trying to say is people are reporting different things all the time. They got different sources, different information. They're coming at it from different ways. So be careful when you're standing up on your soapbox and you're accusing of these people lying, being part of a plot, just because they're different. They might be wrong. Say you're wrong. Say, Greg, you're wrong. Say, Ray Anderson, you're wrong. Everything's going good. Say, Dennis Dodd, you're wrong on point A, B, C. Maybe you're good on E and F. G, you're wrong. Say, Brett McMurphy, you're wrong. Say, SPJ, you're wrong on this, right on this. But to just say everybody's lying and it's part of a plot, it doesn't work for me, brother. It just doesn't. We're not going to be a part of that. So, we had to do some blockage on Twitter last night. Again, people keep talking about this Forbes. David Hookstead says the PAC is expected to be done. Apple TV, Amazon, and Forbes saying it. No one has sent me that Forbes link, so send me that Forbes link. Send me this article that it says expected to be done at the end of March. It better be done by the end of March, but people keep bringing up. David Hookstead's article on this was based upon Forbes' article. I have yet to see Forbes article. So send me the link and I'll give it a read. Thank you so very much. Again, subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to make sure your comment gets put on, hit the donate sign. Appreciate it. Tony, thanks for the super chat. Mr. Gopher, will Stanford's NIL policy work in the Big Ten? What is Notre Dame's position on pay for play? No, Stanford's position will not work. It will not work. And that's their choice. Stanford is not getting in. They're not supporting their collectives. They're not. I don't think Stanford is willing to go to where the future of college sports and college football is going. And that's fine. That's great for them. That's why I think, and a surprise to me, I thought Stanford would become a Big Ten university. I was wrong. Postmortem, peek around the corner. I was wrong. It's okay. It's okay. I was wrong. But Stanford has taken a different direction. An incredible university, a private university, huge endowment. They can attract the best students. They don't need that front porch to attract students. It looks like they're going the opposite way as college football is going, college sports is going. Notre Dame, I think they're going to go forward along with the rest of the big brand schools. But Stanford doesn't look like it's happening. Thanks for the question, Tony. Thank you for the super chat, your generosity. Mr. Gopher, Tony, thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Peter Johnson, Thank you for your super chat. Thank you for your generosity. Greg, do you agree with Ryan that Utah will never be in the Big Ten? No, I'm not going to say never. But that's Ryan Thomas. That's his opinion, right? Very smart guy. No, I'm not predicting I'm not predicting Utah's going to the Big Ten, but I'm not going to say the word never. Because again, Peter and everyone else, and it's okay to disagree with me, there's going to be more expansion out in the Pacific Coast. And maybe it's Washington and Oregon. Maybe it's Washington and Utah. I do think it's going to be Washington and Oregon. And at some point, if the conference goes to 24 schools, or let's say that 24 schools, you may want 6 schools out in the Pacific Coast, right? If it goes to 20 schools, you might want 5 schools out in the Pacific Coast. Which means maybe there's another Pacific Coast school other than Oregon and Washington. And maybe Utah fits into that spot. I'm not predicting Utah to the Big Ten, but I'm not going to say never. Never is for a very, very long time. Just like I won't say never that the Big Ten won't break up at some point. I think if it does, it's going to be a long ways from now, but I'm not going to use the word never. Okay? But thanks for the super chat, Peter. Appreciate the great question. T-Duck, Stanford isn't going to play the NIL game or travel students across the country. Cornelius Green, praise the Lord, Greg. Praise you, Mr. Green. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to put the phone lines back on. Again, 763-260-1333 is the number. Give a call, talk about anything in college football. Never say never, Monovision. Let's go Utes, Tony. Does anyone have the Forbes link? Yeah, no one has sent it to me thus far. I'll take another look. I know it wasn't in the original article that Outkick had. So, hey, hopefully the deal gets done. It wasn't going to get done last week. We said that at Peek Around the Corner. They had to present the comprehensive plan to the deal. More deal or deals. That didn't happen either. So I think I still think they're behind the schedule that they even set at the beginning of March. But yeah, can they get it done? Can the Pac-12 sign the deal by the end of March? It would be great for the conference if they can get it done as early as possible. And that might be as early as possible as we sit today, March 13th. Because again, unless it happened here in the last 24 hours, we at Peek Around the Corner do not believe that the Pac-12 presidents have been presented with a comprehensive media package. One that they can hash out and vote up and down after they hash it out. We don't even think, and I think we've been proven right on that. For weeks we've been saying that. There's reports out there that they're still trying to cobble it together. I think people were jumping too early when they were saying that there's a deal for $25 million. They've agreed with the deal for $22 million. They've agreed with the deal for $28 million. I think people were jumping way too early. We do not think those reports were accurate. Do we think people were lying? No. I just think people got the wrong info. The deal, they haven't voted on a deal yet or even hashed it out yet. They're trying to cobble it together. Sean Eaton says, I'm a Pac-12 guy too, but I'm not blind to see the writing on the wall. T-Duck says, I'm a Pac-10 guy until the end of times. And Tony's saying, T-Duck, the end of times, I figure, is August 2024. Blaze Bunny, Oregon has a good law, journalism, business, education schools, and it's better school than Ohio State, despite their research. So all this is kind of funny. Better school than Ohio State. Skull Ducky, hopefully the new president at the University of Oregon will work to getting legislation passed to upgrade the research programs. Oh, I'm sorry, Oregon State, not Ohio State. Got it. Thanks, Blaze Bunny. Thank you, Sean Eaton. My bad. Everyone's corrected me. Everybody has corrected me. Thank you so very much. The host is kind of slow. We've talked about that before. This show is great except for the host. That's the weakness. Matt Neeson, if PAC doesn't have a media deal done in April, then what happens? Well, then we wait to see when the Big Ten gets their commissioner in. And if that is the stories will only pick up. The sources will only start talking more to those ghastly reporters out there. You know, if we get out of March, we get into April, we're 2 weeks away, 13 days away, 12 days away from a Big Ten commissioner, 11, 10, 9, 8. People are going to start talking that Washington and Oregon might be holding things up. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe there's some other issues. Get the deal done. Forbes article is by Zinger News. Patrick Boren. Somebody send me that at Plug Empire. Someone send it to me, please. I would even like to read it on air, but I need to see the article. Yeah, I don't think no one has sent me the article. So if someone can send me the article, I will read it on the air here at Peek Around the Corner, doing our lunchtime live show. So just send me the article. Anybody. Larry Pilgrim, not too happy. Oregon and Washington destabilized the conference. Since the departure of USC and UCLA, they can piss on an electrical cord. Okay. Opie, update. A deal is expected before the end of March. Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime Video, and ESPN are all in the mix, with the majority of games being expected to be streamed, but things are fluid and might... Okay, I got it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read it. Is that okay? Hold on, everybody. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. All right. Everybody relax. A Wisconsin person taking the Oregon's president's job. Yes, I saw that reported. I will look into it. Geez, I still don't have it. Okay. I'll read it off the phone here. Pac-12's leadership needs to ink a media deal, then start ACC merger talks. Okay, well, right away, I'm sorry. Well, this is February. This article's in February. George Paul Lewis. Yeah, that's an old article. So, well, Again, where is the link? James says there's the link. The name of the Forbes article. No Bunga says, Greg, what do you think about the Mark Silverman, president of Fox Sports? I think he's one of the top candidates. We've talked about him a lot of times here. Mark Silverman, former president of the Big Ten Network, the first one, the originator. He's the OG. There's the link, Greg. Greg, will you be at Mariucci Arena on Saturday? No, I will not be. Nope. Okay, I'm looking at Twitter again. It just has one paragraph from March 8th saying the update. Okay, Opie, so you've already given me the update? Okay, a deal is expected before the end of March. Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime Video, and ESPN are all in the mix with the majority of games expected stream, but things are fluid and might change. Well, we had Peek Around the Corner middle of last week or late last week. We had steam that Apple TV was out, that they were going out. So our information is a little bit different. But again, if we're wrong, if Apple TV is in the mix, then we'll say that we're wrong here at Peek Around the Corner. No, we're not some part of some plot out there. Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime, and ESPN are all in the mix. I find it. Thanks for that update, James. Thank you, Opie. Thanks for everybody for bringing this to my attention. The update is just one little sentence here. I find it hard to imagine that a deal would have Apple TV and Amazon involved. Hopefully, George Kliavkoff, hopefully this is true and he's got both of them in the mix. Maybe he can play one off the other. Maybe they can get some juice out of this, right? That would be great. That would be great for George Kliavkoff and the 10 members of the Pac-12. If they're both involved in this, and there's mostly streaming, man. And if Oregon and Washington sign on to this, that truly means that they could not wait any longer, or they were told by the Big Ten, wait 2 or 3 years from now, because I would find that hard to believe that Apple TV Plus and Amazon would both, the risk, well, first of all, would they even play with each other? Apple TV likes to have all or most of whatever content they get involved with, like MLS. Like US, feels like past reporting around Apple is that they want everything. Maybe they sell some games to ESPN. That could be, sublease it out. Yes, Opie, yes. We said that there was steam that Apple TV was out. Absolutely, we reported that. And we have no reason to back away from that now, even though that report came out. If we're wrong, we'll say that we were wrong. But we don't think Apple TV is a part of it. Not any longer. We shall see. We'll wait for other reports. We'll keep poking around here at Peek Around the Corner. To end up with both Apple TV and Amazon, I can't imagine that, but I don't know, Patrick. I don't think they do. I don't think they can. U.S. says Apple TV can't being out makes all the sense in the world. PAC schools can't afford to have everything behind a paywall. They also can't afford to wait on Apple's slow timing. Well, maybe if you want to get into cloak and dagger talk, or just speculation, maybe Oregon and Washington would like to have the slow play of the negotiations with Apple Plus, because then that puts them in the time window of Big Ten new commissioner, and maybe they can get a quick answer. Is Big Ten interested or not around the middle of April? So maybe the Apple TV slow play works out for Washington and Oregon. However, we received steam that Apple TV is not going to be part of it. So we'll see. If you're wrong, it's cloak and dagger. Oops, ops. People are commenting in the comments section about, was the Pac-12 meeting heated and everything. Yeah, it wasn't happy days are here again. That did not happen. We reported it, and then other people followed up on it. And to say that all of us are just out there, it's just not true. We're not here to cause problems, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to give you the best information we have in a timely manner, just like everybody else. And I think we've nailed this story from the beginning. Our Arizona State Money Perch guy definitely nailed the story. And he nailed other stories before this when we did not have a YouTube channel, when we just did Twitter. And he nailed this story completely. But anyways, I think we're going to close it up. We've been on the air for over 2 hours. Thank you for joining our lunchtime live show here at Peek Around the Corner. Before you leave, please subscribe to our channel. We could be coming on tonight with breaking news. It's possible. So subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button. Please visit our merchandise store if you want your official mug. Cloak and Dagger mug, Peek Around the Corner. It's pretty cool looking. We're going to be putting some other mugs. There's some other stuff on there, like a hoodie, like a trucker hat, the trucker conference, the trucker hat. So take a look. It's CFB PATC, Peek Around the Corner, CFBPATC.com. The link is in the description box below the video. I appreciate all your comments, your donations, your generous donations, your phone calls. Ryan Thomas, the rest of you, Mona Vision, thank you so very much. We might be coming on tonight. So things are percolating. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time. From all of us at Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take good care of each other.